So subtle is the new stunning. Who doesn't love that? Who hasn't ever heard from somebody like, I don't know what you did, but something's different. You look refreshed, you look more rested. That is the whole story behind the whole premise for what we do when we do our injectables. We want it to be this natural, refreshed look that you have. It doesn't have to be this overdone or changing your face. We kind of want to rebalance. So that's why I always tell patients, I love the fact that Juvederm really can naturally frame and balance your face. And now we have so many options. It used to be that we had maybe 2 fillers that we could choose from. Now what Allergan has done is they have taken the Juvederm, I always explain it as an umbrella. So we have the Juvederm umbrella, and then under that we have Juvederm Ultra, Ultra Plus, Juvederm Voluma, Volbella, Volux, Velour, and now we have SkinVive. So they all have their place, and really we used to do a lot more off-label injecting, but now they've really gotten a lot on-label, so we can do temples, mid-face, jawline, chin, nasolabial folds, lips. So we really have all the tools that we need to give you the best rejuvenation that we can. So the difference between the Ultra Plus versus the V products, the Voluma, Volbella, Volux, Velour, all of those, is the Ultra and Ultra Plus are hyalocross. So they basically are formulated with hyaluronic acid. All of them are hyaluronic acid, but they're just manipulated and formulated a little bit differently, and they behave differently. So with the Ultra and Ultra Plus, they will take some water in your tissues and build once we've injected them. Versus the Vicross products, they already come pretty hydrated. So which is what you get. Some of them have different densities, different thickness. So like we wouldn't put what we put on the jawline, we wouldn't put that in the lips, and vice versa, because it's just not going to give you the effect that we're looking for, the lifting power, the structure, contouring, and things that we are looking for when we're reframing your face. So we have a lot of really nice options when we look at the Juvederm portfolio. And SkinVive is a new kid on the block. SkinVive it's these little micro injections that we can do all over the face. And off-label, we do them on the neck, and we can do some other areas that really helps to pull hydration. It opens up these aquaporins, and then it floods hydration into the area and giving you a nice glow, and also some structure to the skin at a more superficial level, which we haven't been able to do that before, having access to SkinVive. So that has been really fun and has been just a nice little icing on the cake. So I always invite patients, when you guys come into the office and you're interested at all in fillers, we're always happy to talk about them. We're always happy to give you our expert opinion on what we think would work for you, and discuss maybe what's bothering you too, and if there's anything that any of the injections would be able to do to help that. So to go over some before and afters, I love this picture so much because I can relate to her. I'm a full face gal. And a lot of full face people that have round face and cheeky, we're always like, don't give us filler. I don't want more. Please do not give me more volume. What we have learned and what we can do with fillers, we can actually recontour the face so that we have projection in certain areas that can offset maybe a round or a square face type. So with her, you can see that we did some more lateral cheek to give her some support there, and then did some in her chin because her chin tends to want to pull up. So we wanted to open it up and give it maybe a little bit more height, longevity to it. And then we also did a little bit of Botox to help relax the muscle underneath that's moving the draping skin and fat tissue on top. So one of my favorite cases. Absolutely, I think it's just such a good demonstration of how we can, but just some small tweaks really change the contour to somebody's face. Then this other one too, she has more of a round face, but we could see in the balance of her face, she's got these big gorgeous eyes, really nice beautiful broad smile, but then she was a little bit short on the chin side. So what we did for her is we did some mid-face. Again, nothing in the face lives alone. It all lives together. So it really makes sense to address everything. And although we've been doing it for a while, but Juvederm Voluma did just get approved recently within the last year or so, maybe 2 years now, that we can do the temples. And we've realized when you fill the temples, it gets this whole unit up. So but it's connected here. So then we've got to support the lateral, and then that also is connected. So it's just, you can't look at somebody's chin in isolation. Yes, that is part of it, but the surrounding areas matter too. So what we did for her is we did do some mid-face, again, to help support that. Also did a little bit on her jawline and in her chin. And although I think looking at her, you would be like, oh, she still has a round face. Absolutely, but it's better supported and it's better contoured. And I like to show pictures of her moving too, because Sometimes I get feedback questioning more. So I get questions of people like, oh, am I going to be able to move my face normally? Am I going to fill the filler? Is everybody going to see it? Am I going to look like I have these big apple cheeks? And that's just not the case. Now, the day that you get injected, while you're recovering from it, yes, it's probably going to be noticeable that something happened. But once it's integrated and it's really settled into the tissues, it's like a part of you. I always explain it like contacts. I've worn them since I was 16. You forget about them. They're there, but they're a part of you. But I think it's just, again, it's a really nice result. And she looks rejuvenated. And I don't think you could point out one thing as to what did she do. And then this is just a nice picture of lips. I think it's nice to show a subtle improvement. I know that we're always wowed by these pictures that we see on Instagram where you see these big drastic changes, but I would say the majority of people that I meet, they just want to look refreshed. They want to have the lips that they had when they were in their 20s that aren't these different lips, these big, huge, full lips, where they're more hydrated, maybe have a little bit better structure. So this one, especially on profile, you can see it's just she's got a little bit more, but it still looks like her, and no one would ever know she had her lips done. And that was done with 1 cc of Volbella, which is just a really nice, soft, gives a little bit of volumization, also gives hydration, and just a little bit of structure. So I do have some other products that will give some more augmentation. I tend to turn to Juvederm Ultra for that, and it's not wrong, it's not bad, but I think the messaging that I'm trying to get across is it doesn't have to be this big change or this big, huge difference in your facial appearance if we just want to make some subtle improvements. Again, just to recap, you can look to Juvederm to fill your temples, mid-face, jawline, chin, lips, nasolabial folds. And then we have the SkinVive to help improve the skin quality, give some brilliance to the skin and extra hydration, and they all are fabulous. So I think it's important to kind of touch on things that come up all the time when we're in the room consulting with patients who have either had a bad experience with some filler before or they've never done it. And I think that it's super important to be as transparent and as clear about what you're looking for, and then on our end, what you can expect. You know, needles in the face, you are going to feel them. I will tell you here, we do topical numbing, we're very gentle, we pick the right needle for the right place. We also do a technique with cannula, which allows us to have broader access to an area without having to needle all the time, and that tends to help with bruising and swelling. Also too, I think it's injecting in the right spaces. We are really well versed in the anatomy of the face, the different depths that we need to be in, where are we going to be with a fat pad, where does a muscle take place, where are we hitting bone, where are the ligaments. All of those things matter when we're approaching doing your treatment, because if you're in the wrong zones, you're not going to get a great result. You could have more excessive bruising, bleeding, and just some other things can happen. I will say things obviously can happen, but we are prepared to. We keep an enzyme on hand. The beautiful thing about hyaluronic acid gel, which is Juvederm products, is they can be reversed. So if there was something that had to be tweaked, if you didn't like the outcome for any reason, or if there was an incident with it, we keep a mountain of these vials on hand in case we need them. So it is a little bit nice. I know how I am as a consumer, like I want to know everything, and I want to know, like, is there an out? Is there a way that we can fix it if something were to happen? So we keep the hyaluronidase on hand, which I think is good to point out. So, but back to technique, it really is important. The hands of the person that you're in, they need to make sure that they know they're in the right depths, that they're in the right place. And these Juvederm products are designed to perform in different areas. You know, you don't want to be superficial with something that's really thick, and you don't want to be deep with something that's really thin, because then you're really not going to see results. So that is on our end, that is up to us. So that's why we prepare you. Sometimes it can be a little bit jarring when you hear us say, okay, we're recommending 2 syringes of Voluma, 2 syringes of Volux, a syringe of Velour, a syringe of Volbella, and you think, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But when they're layered in the right place, it's not going to be a matter of, oh, I just did 8 syringes, oh, I did 6 syringes, oh, I did 4 syringes, because the placement is right. So, you know, in the hands of somebody who knows what they're doing, that shouldn't be a big fear. We tend to like to incrementally do treatments. So we'll start out with an amount, bring you back in 2 weeks, reevaluate. If we hit it on the head, then great. If we didn't, there's some room for movement. We can always add more. So we don't tend to be an office that just lays you back and plumps you up full and then we see you in 6 months. It's really important to us to make sure that we're all on the same page, we all are happy with the results, and everything is really nicely integrated into your face. After the treatment, you can expect a little bit of tenderness. Yes, you can have bruising. Doesn't always happen. I will say when I first started injecting in 2011, it happened a lot more because I was getting more comfortable. Now here I am, fast forward all these years, and I've gotten much better at it, but they still happen. But we do try our best, so you plan for that. You can have tenderness, like when you're smiling and animating, you're like, oh, when I got my chin done, oh my gosh, I thought I was never going to chew food again. But that lasted about 24 hours, and then that kind of breaks. So you can prepare for something like that, but shouldn't be where you feel like you need 2 weeks off or anything like that. So I think just kind of preparing around that is good to know what you're getting in line for. Another question that I get asked is, does it migrate? And fillers can change over time, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they migrate or they're always going to fall, they're always going to go. Again, that goes back to that technique of putting it in the right place. So if we're getting it in the right layers and the right vectors and paying attention to that when we're injecting, it's going to go through its natural process where our body absorbs it and it goes away. Should be very nice. We notice that filler kind of gets wonky and weird. Like if you've ever heard people like around the tear trough, sometimes in the lips, these are moving dynamic areas. And so sometimes there's some muscular component to that. I don't think we 100% know why, but it's just something that we now as injectors, we realize like less is more in those areas. So we always factor that in. But we're always willing, especially if it's a treatment we did, we are 100% always willing to follow up, see you, see if anything needs to be adjusted, what we need to do. We also do dissolving and fixing things too, because it happens and we're definitely able to do that. So I get this question a lot. How long does it last? And it's kind of like one of my least favorite questions because yes, if we look at textbook, if you look at the studies that Allergan did and they did 7, 8, 9, 10 syringes in somebody, yes, it's gonna last 2 years. But the way that we approach it here, because we're seeing you regularly, hopefully you're coming in and getting your neurotoxin, your Botox every 3 to 6 months. We're checking you, we're constantly looking. My hope and what I tend to see happens is that we get you to where we're like, this is what we love, this is what we're looking for. And say that took 6 syringes of filler. Well then, at the year mark, maybe we do half of that dose. Maybe you only need a couple syringes where you're more dynamic. If you're moving your mouth, moving your lips more, okay, well then we're probably gonna have to touch up your lips sooner than we would have to do. Temples last a long time because they're just not very dynamic. So it all is kind of different. The idea is that, we're gonna do that initial setup and then it's the maintenance and you're doing all the things for maintenance. So I remember Dr. Hartog would get this question with facelifts all the time. And it's more like, hey, we're taking back the clock and then you start aging again. So, but we like to approach it in that maintenance mode. In the right hands, which you will find that here, myself, Michelle Hartog, who's also a nurse practitioner, and Olivia Eckel, we're our expert injectors here. We continue to get educated on the latest and greatest. We're always going to offer the safest available products out there, and we're constantly growing. We want better application. Technique matters. So if you have Juvederm's awesome, we know that, but if it's in the wrong hands, it could not be awesome. And you can have some real issues or some unsavory results. So we are always striving for the best from beginning to end. We comprehensive consultation, we prepare you for the treatment, and then also we follow up. We're very big on follow-up because we want to make sure that the outcome is there that we were anticipating. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this little talk. Please feel free to set up a consultation, reach out with any questions. We would be thrilled to talk to you more about Juvederm.